It wasn't always this way. In virtually every ancient culture, night was understood as a time of communion with the sacred. Rituals marked the transition from day to night. In countless traditions, prayers were offered at twilight, gifts made to the unseen, gratitude expressed aloud for the day's blessings. Sleep was approached with intention, not passivity. Because it was entered with intention, it responded with revelation. Dreams were remembered, messages received, souls renewed. Now the average person enters sleep in a state of mental chaos, overstimulated, overworked, undernourished, not in food, but in spirit. The body may rest, but the mind remains entangled in worries and digital static. The soul, it waits quietly, patiently, until you're ready to return to it. But modern life makes that return increasingly difficult. You awaken to an alarm, not your body's natural rhythm. You're pulled into screens before you've even fully inhabited your physical form. Your first thoughts involve tasks, obligations, messages. There's no sacred beginning. When the day ends, it ends abruptly. No gentle unwinding, no descent, just one more episode, one more scroll, one more email. The sacred night has been stolen, replaced by an endless loop. At the center of that loop lies a destructive myth that your worth is measured by your productivity, that you must earn your rest, that sleep is for the unambitious, that slowing down means falling behind. This belief has carved itself into the modern psyche, silently directing behavior, making people feel guilty for simply being tired. But tiredness isn't failure. Tiredness is a message. It's your soul requesting to return home. When that request is ignored repeatedly, something begins to close, not just in the body, but in the spirit. Intuition dulls, dreams fade. The inner voice becomes harder to hear. Because sleep isn't just where the body recovers. It's where the soul speaks. It's where the hidden becomes visible, the invisible becomes felt. The mystics of antiquity knew this. They understood that sleep was a kind of temple, a space where truth could be revealed without interference from the ego. They protected the night. They honored the darkness. They listened to their dreams as if they were letters from the divine. Often they were. But what happens when an entire civilization forgets this wisdom? What happens when no one listens anymore? We get what we have now, a world filled with insomnia, restlessness, exhaustion that sleep doesn't heal, anxiety that doesn't resolve. We have homes filled with light but no illumination, minds filled with noise but no wisdom, people who fall asleep but never truly descend. We have forgotten how to descend. Descent is sacred. It's the act of releasing, of letting go, of trusting something deeper to carry you where the mind cannot follow. In ancient times, descent wasn't feared. It was mythologized. Inanna descending into the underworld, Persephone journeying below. Each night, your soul mimics this pattern. It descends into the unseen, not to disappear, but to transform, to remember what the waking world made you forget. But when sleep is rushed, when the night is filled with static, the descent is blocked and you remain on the surface of yourself, skimming through life without ever diving deep. This isn't your fault. You were born into a system that doesn't remember the sacred, that doesn't teach you to listen to silence, that values output over insight. But something within you remembers. That's why you felt it. That pull toward stillness, that longing for peace, that ache at day's end. Not just for rest, but for return. You don't just want to sleep. You want to come home, to touch something real, to enter the quiet places inside you that still hold truth. That longing isn't weakness. It's your compass. It will guide you back if you allow it. You can reclaim the sacred night. You can revive the rituals that once framed the edges of the day. It doesn't require elaborate ceremonies. Just presence, just intention, just willingness to approach sleep not as escape, but as arrival. Turn off the noise, dim the lights. Speak your gratitude aloud. Invite the sacred back in. When you close your eyes, don't think of sleep as the day's end. Think of it as the beginning of your journey. Because the night was never meant to be empty, it was meant to be holy. You've been told that dreams are meaningless, that they're just mental leftovers, fragments of your day stitched together by a brain that doesn't know how to properly shut down. Scientists claim they're meaningless noise, your subconscious filing and sorting information. Maybe replaying some emotional echoes, but nothing to take seriously. Just neurons firing in random patterns. Just a nightly glitch in your mental software. But deep in your bones, you know that's not true. You've had dreams that stayed with you for days, even years. Dreams that shook you to your core. Dreams that whispered secrets you couldn't explain, or carried a presence so real it made you weep upon waking. You've dreamed of people who had passed on, places you've never visited, symbols you can't decode but somehow understand. These aren't accidents. They're not noise. They are messages, invitations, echoes of something wiser moving through you while your conscious mind rests. Your dreams have never been random. Long before psychology became a discipline, before science could scan brain activity, humans knew this truth. They treated dreams as sacred communications, as revelations, as direct communication between the human and the divine. Pharaohs constructed entire temple complexes to sleep within, hoping for dreams that would reveal divine guidance. Prophets fasted for days to receive visions. Elders taught their children to honor their dreams as lessons, warnings, and truths not yet visible in daylight. So what changed? At some point, we stopped listening. We decided only what could be measured was real. If it couldn't be weighed, studied, or replicated in laboratories, it was dismissed. In doing so, we pushed our dreams into shadow. We forgot that meaning isn't always measurable, that wisdom doesn't always speak in facts. Sometimes it speaks in symbols, in metaphor, in language the soul understands even when the mind does not. Carl Jung understood this. He saw dreams not as psychological waste products, but as messages from the soul. He believed every dream attempts to restore balance to your inner world, that every symbol, no matter how strange, carries meaning crafted specifically for you. Not generic meaning from a dream dictionary, but living, breathing conversation between your conscious self and your deeper, unseen aspects. To Jung, dreams were the voice of the unconscious, the parts of yourself that you avoid, repress, forget, or simply never knew existed. Each night, while your ego rests, those parts begin speaking, not in sentences but in symbols, not in logic but in story. An endless staircase, a flood overwhelming your home, a stranger offering you a key. These images may seem disconnected initially, but they're not. They are mirrors, each reflecting a part of you trying to be seen, healed, remembered. That's why certain dreams repeat, because the message hasn't been received. That's why you have recurring themes: falling, flying, being pursued. Your soul is knocking on the door of your awareness, asking you to pay attention, asking you to stop running from something you're meant to face, or reminding you that something inside you longs to be free. It doesn't use direct language because the soul doesn't speak English or logic or mathematics. It speaks the ancient tongue of the unconscious. It speaks in dreams. Sometimes your dreams carry more than just your own voice. Have you ever had a dream that felt like a visitation? Someone who had passed appears, not in memory, but in presence. Their eyes meet yours. They communicate without words, and you wake transformed. Not sad, not happy, just deeply still, as if something sacred moved through you. That wasn't just a dream. That was a reunion, a moment when the veil thinned and you were open enough, still enough to receive them. The deceased don't always communicate through seances or mediums. Sometimes they come quietly in the night, not to haunt, but to remind you that love doesn't end where the body ends. That connection transcends physical death. Sleep gives them a doorway, not to teach or lecture, but simply to be with you again in the only way they can. Some dreams aren't about people at all. They're about presence itself. You wake with a phrase in your mind that you've never heard before. You dream of a place that feels more like home than anywhere you've ever lived. You see symbols, eyes, animals, ancient landscapes, and they seem to carry a frequency, a knowing, even if you lack words for it. That's because dreams can be spiritual transmissions, downloads, glimpses of the deeper architecture of reality. In some traditions, dreams are where the soul remembers its agreements, the vows it made before entering this life, the truths it came to learn, the pain it came to heal. But those truths can't be forced into words, so they come through images, encounters, surreal narratives that only begin making sense when you stop trying to interpret them with rational mind. The more you pay attention to your dreams, the more they begin speaking clearly. You might start noticing themes, patterns, symbols that follow you. A particular animal that always appears when you're on the edge of breakthrough. A feeling that always returns when you're avoiding something important. These aren't coincidences, they are threads. If you follow them, they'll lead you back to yourself. But most people never follow them because most people never remember. They don't remember because no one taught them how. We've trained ourselves to wake up and immediately re-enter the noise. Email, texts, headlines. We push away dream remnants before they can even settle. We tell ourselves it was just a dream, as if that means it wasn't real, as if the deepest parts of us don't count unless they make logical sense. But what if your dreams are more real than your waking thoughts? What if they're not distortions, but truths filtered through a lens you haven't yet cleaned? What if you started treating your dreams like sacred texts, not to be analyzed, but to be sat with, felt, written down with reverence as if they were notes from higher intelligence? Because they are. Your dreams are the soul's language, and the soul is always speaking. You just have to start listening. Keep a journal beside your bed. Write down even fragments. Pay attention to colors, feelings, sounds. Notice who appears. Notice how you feel upon waking. Over time, you'll see it. There's a pattern. There's guidance. There's intelligence behind it all. You're not alone in the night. You're not wandering through nonsense. You're being spoken to. The more you listen, the clearer it becomes. So the next time someone tells you dreams are random, smile quietly, because you know better. You know your soul speaks in symbols. You know memory and mystery live side by side in darkness. And you know you were never meant to sleep through your dreams. There's a place you visit every night just before sleep fully claims you. A liminal space, a crack in the wall between waking and dreaming. It's brief, so brief that most people miss it entirely. But in that fleeting moment, something extraordinary occurs. The veil begins to thin. This is the hypnagogic state, the transitional threshold between wakefulness and sleep. You've been there more times than you realize. It's that strange moment when your thoughts begin shifting into images, when your body feels heavy while your mind flickers with light. Sounds may emerge unbidden. Shapes form and vanish behind closed eyes. Logic begins loosening its grip. Time becomes elastic. If you pay attention, it becomes sacred. The hypnagogic state isn't disorder or nonsense. It is the first door, the beginning of descent, a meeting point where conscious and unconscious minds shake hands. For those who know how to linger there, how to remain aware as they soften into sleep, this threshold holds profound revelations. Some of history's greatest minds knew this secret. They didn't stumble into genius. They waited for it just beyond the edge of sleep. Thomas Edison used to nap sitting upright in a chair, holding steel balls in his hands. Beneath his hands were metal plates. The moment he began drifting off, the moment he crossed into the hypnagogic realm, his hands would release the balls, and the sudden noise would wake him. He'd capture the ideas forming in that liminal moment and record them. It was a ritual, a sacred theft of insight from a realm just outside waking reach. Salvador Dali practiced something similar. He called it slumber with a key. He believed that true surrealism, the kind that bypasses ego, could only be accessed in the moment just before sleep, when conscious mind loses control and imagination begins speaking freely. He would hold a key between his fingers while resting. When sleep approached, the key would fall and the noise would return him to waking, still saturated with symbols from that sacred state. They weren't escaping reality, they were slipping beneath it. Mystics have done this too. Ancient yogis called it yoga nidra, the sleep of the awakened. A state between waking and sleeping where the body rests, but awareness remains. In this space, visions arise. The ego fades. The soul steps forward. You may receive images, phrases, sudden knowing, not because you're dreaming, but because you're finally quiet enough to hear what has always been speaking. You've felt this. Maybe it happened when you were lying in bed just before sleep. You saw flashes of color, faces of people you didn't recognize, heard a voice whisper your name though no one was there. Perhaps your body jerked awake as if falling, not from fear, but because something in you was beginning to slip out of the ordinary and into the sacred. These aren't glitches, they're invitations. In the hypnagogic state, rational mind is no longer in control. When that happens, a door opens. The subconscious begins rising like mist. Archetypes, emotions, unresolved memories. They all emerge not to haunt you, but to be seen, to be integrated. If you learn to hold yourself in this space, not resisting, not analyzing, just witnessing, something extraordinary begins unfolding. You begin remembering, not memories from childhood, but memories deeper than that. Soul memories, truths that were buried beneath the noise of daily life. You may suddenly understand something you've been struggling with for months. You may feel the presence of someone who loves you. You may see a symbol that repeats in your dreams and realize it's been trying to communicate with you all along. Yet modern life gives us no space to honor this threshold. We rush through it. We fill our nights with noise until sleep forces its way in. There's no ritual, no reverence, no listening. The moment we feel ourselves drifting, we try to catch ourselves. But catching yourself too soon is precisely what keeps the door closed. You don't need to force anything in this space. You only need to surrender with awareness, to lie still and allow your mind to dissolve, not into chaos, but into deeper order. An order your waking mind can't comprehend, but your soul recognizes instantly. You may see flickers of scenes, people you haven't thought about in years, fractal patterns, sacred geometries, strange languages. Don't try to interpret them. Let them move through you. Let them do their work. The hypnagogic state is a cleansing, a transition, a sacred washing away of surface thought so that truth can rise. In those moments, you are closer to your deeper self than at any other time during the day. Because the deeper self doesn't live in the linear. It doesn't speak in paragraphs. It speaks in pulse, in image, in energy. The more you learn to remain aware in this state, the more it opens to you. Not aggressively, not dramatically, but with gentleness. Like a veil lifting one thread at a time. You begin realizing that consciousness isn't binary. It's not on or off. It's a spectrum, a sliding scale. The hypnagogic space is the gradient between what is known and what is infinite. If the waking world is the shore, then the hypnagogic state is the shallows, the place where land and water meet. You're not fully on the boat, not yet adrift in dream, but you are ankle deep in mystery. There is wisdom there, flowing over your feet. You don't need to swim, you just need to feel. For the mystics, this was the moment of passage. They trained themselves to enter sleep consciously, not just for lucid dreaming, but for communion, for insight, for connection with guides, ancestors, the divine. Because once you know how to stay awake as your body falls asleep, you begin living in two worlds simultaneously. The hypnagogic is the bridge, the gate, the whisper at the threshold. It's not chaos. It's raw signal, unfiltered light trying to reach you before dream narrative takes over. If you can meet it with awareness, even for a few seconds, you begin remembering who you really are beneath all this form. You are not just a body falling asleep. You are consciousness traveling back to source. The hypnagogic state is the moment you begin releasing the mask. So when next you find yourself drifting, don't rush past it. Feel it. Witness it. Let yourself fall, not into sleep, but into knowing. The veil is thin, and it's waiting for you. For centuries, mystics spoke of sleep as a sacred passage, a descent into deeper realms of self, spirit, and soul. They described layers of consciousness, traveling souls, sacred stillness, and realms that only opened when the ego finally dissolved. Their language was poetic, symbolic, rooted in silence and lived experience, but it was dismissed, labeled primitive, unscientific, until something unexpected happened. Science began catching up. It wasn't trying to prove anything sacred. It was simply observing, measuring, analyzing. But in doing so, it began mapping a world the mystics had been navigating for thousands of years. A world beneath the eyelids, a world within the brain, a world behind the curtain of waking life. Modern neuroscience gave sleep a microscope. What it found was staggering. Sleep is not a flat line. It is not unconsciousness. It is a symphony of electrical rhythms cycling through precise repeating stages, each with its own signature, its own vibration, its own mystery. The brain doesn't simply shut off at night. It becomes active in a different way, more rhythmic, more surrendered. It drops into patterns invisible during the day. These patterns are called brainwaves, and they are the hidden music of your being. The waking state, what science calls beta, is fast and focused. It's the mind in motion, problem-solving, reacting, analyzing. But the moment you begin relaxing, something changes. The frequency slows. You shift into alpha, a state of quiet focus, daydreaming, or light meditation. This is the gateway, the beginning of descent. Go deeper, and you enter theta. Now you're slipping. Thoughts become images. Time begins stretching. This is the zone of dreams, imagination, and profound creativity. It's the state many enter during deep meditation or trance. But in sleep, theta is where you begin losing your grip on the waking world. This is where hypnagogic visions live, where mystics heard whispers from beyond the veil. Then comes delta, slow, heavy, deep. This is the realm of sushupti, the deep sleep described in the Upanishads. There are no dreams here, no images, no you in the way you recognize yourself. Just vast, restorative stillness. The body repairs, the nervous system resets, the mind is completely surrendered. Science calls it non-REM stage 3, but mystics called it sacred. They said this was the moment the soul returns to source, where the self dissolves and pure awareness remains. Then suddenly the brain speeds back up. You enter REM, the paradox state. Your body is paralyzed, your muscles still, but your brain is almost as active as when you're awake. This is where vivid, surreal dreams begin. Stories unfold. Archetypes emerge. Symbols flood the stage. Your inner world becomes a theater where deep truths are dressed in strange costumes. Science sees REM as vital for memory consolidation and emotional regulation. But mystics knew this was something more. This was a journey, a mirror, a conversation between soul and self. It's in REM that your mind can bypass the filters of logic, where deep emotions rise without judgment, where unresolved parts of yourself come forth, not to be analyzed, but to be seen. This is the land of Jung's symbols, of visitations, of messages encoded in metaphor. It's not chaos, it's clarity in disguise. The entire cycle repeats about every 90 minutes, down into delta, up into REM, descent, ascent, death, rebirth. Night after night, your consciousness weaves through these rhythms. Most people are unaware, but the patterns remain, silent, precise, unfolding like an ancient ritual that the body remembers even if the mind does not. Here's the truth science has accidentally proven. Consciousness does not disappear during sleep. It shifts, moves through measurable phases. It alters its frequency. It takes different forms, but it never vanishes. Something is always there, watching, witnessing. That alone should awaken wonder. Because if awareness never truly ceases, not even in the deepest sleep, then what are you really? Not just a mind, not just a body. You are something that moves through all of it, something that remains. This is what mystics have always said, that you are the witness, the awareness that observes waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. The sages of India called it Turiya, the fourth state, the silent observer behind all experience. They didn't need EEG machines to find it. They sat in stillness and listened. They turned inward and discovered the same layered reality that modern machines are now confirming. Even the concept of lucid dreaming, once dismissed as fantasy, has now been verified in laboratories. Subjects trained in lucid awareness can signal with their eyes during REM they are asleep. They are dreaming, but they are aware within it, conscious, active, choosing. This isn't science fiction. This is measured, proven, and it's only the beginning. Neuroscience has started mapping what mystics walked blindfolded. They are finding that deep meditation can induce brain states nearly identical to theta and delta, that seasoned meditators, especially monks and nuns, display heightened gamma waves associated with compassion, unity, and bliss. These aren't anomalies. These are echoes of what was already known. The tools may have changed, but the terrain remains the same. You can call it sushupti. You can call it delta. You can call it the duat or the dreaming. But the truth underneath the names is this: you are a traveler. Every night, without exception, you leave the surface of life and descend into something deeper, something older, something wiser. And now, finally, science is confirming what the soul has always known: that sleep is not absence. It is presence in a different form. It is not unconsciousness. It is consciousness unbound. When you begin seeing your sleep this way, something changes. You stop treating it like a chore. You start treating it like a ceremony, a nightly ritual where the soul returns to the temple, where your deepest truths rise from silence, asking only to be felt. So tonight, when you lie down, remember this: your body may rest, your mind may drift, but your spirit is about to begin its sacred cycle, and something within you, something eternal, will be awake through it all. At some point in the night, after dreaming has faded and the mind's chatter has gone silent, you begin entering a place so deep, so quiet, that even the concept of selfhood begins dissolving. Science calls this stage 3 sleep, slow wave sleep, delta state. It is the deepest part of the sleep cycle, a time when your brain emits the slowest frequencies it produces, pulses of electricity that resemble the quiet, rhythmic beating of an ancient drum. Everything slows, everything stills, your heart rate drops, your body temperature decreases, your muscles relax completely, and your consciousness recedes. But recedes to where? That's the question no monitor can answer. Because while science can measure brainwaves and monitor REM activity, it cannot follow your soul when it steps beyond the veil. It cannot track where you go in those long stretches of blackness when you're not dreaming, not thinking, not remembering, but somehow still being. The mystics have always known deep sleep is not the absence of experience. It's the moment your soul slips out of form and begins its return. Return to what? To source, to spirit, to the space beyond time where your soul remembers who and what it truly is. This is the moment of release, the great letting go. And it happens every single night. You leave, not symbolically, not imaginatively, but energetically. Something within you steps beyond the limits of physical form, beyond the confines of time and linear logic. Your astral body, the subtle vehicle of consciousness, lifts gently, effortlessly, not in defiance of your body, but in liberation from it. In this stillness, in this silence, you begin to travel. Some traditions call it astral projection. Others call it soul flight or spirit journeying. The labels change across cultures, but the experience is universal. There's a moment in the night where you are no longer in your body the way you are during the day. You may return with no memory of the journey, or you may wake with the strange feeling that something happened, something important but elusive, like a name you once knew but cannot quite recall. Yet the body remembers. Because while the soul travels, the body heals. Stage 3 sleep is where the deepest cellular repair occurs. Muscles regenerate. Immune function is restored. Tissues mend. It's as if the body receives its instructions not from the mind, but from the soul's absence. The deeper you go into sleep, the more your body is allowed to return to its natural intelligence, to restore what waking life has worn down. What have you experienced in your deepest sleep states? Have you ever awakened feeling like you've traveled somewhere or received profound healing that you couldn't explain? Share your experiences in the comments below. Is it coincidence that your body does its most powerful healing when your consciousness is most absent from it? Or is it possible that healing requires your surrender, that letting go, truly letting go, is what opens the space for something higher to move through you? In this space, there is no resistance, no effort, no identity. You are not dreaming of being chased. You are not building fantasies or replaying memories. You are not even aware that you exist as a separate self. Yet something within you persists. There is a presence, not a thought, not a name, not a narrative, just isness. Some mystics say this is the closest you come to the divine while still alive. In the Mandukya Upanishad, this state is called Sushupti, deep, dreamless sleep. It is described as the doorway to Turiya, the fourth state, pure consciousness. Not a blankness, but a fullness, a place where the soul rests in itself. No image, no sound, no division. Just presence, just peace. Every night you return to it. You just don't remember because the mind cannot grasp what it did not witness. It wasn't there, but the soul was. Perhaps that's why so many people feel inexplicably transformed after a deep night's sleep. It's not just physical. It's not just mental. Something else has returned to them. Something they didn't even know was missing. The soul has come back carrying something subtle, an energy, a knowing, a whisper. Though they can't name it, they feel it in their clarity, in their breath, in the way their emotions feel lighter, their thoughts less frantic. The soul has been somewhere. It has seen something. In some traditions, it's believed that the soul doesn't just drift aimlessly during these hours. It chooses where to go. Maybe it visits a higher realm to recharge. Maybe it connects with guides, ancestors, beings of light. Maybe it reviews your path, your purpose, your alignment. Or maybe it simply rests in the embrace of the divine, the way a child rests in the arms of a parent. No words, no lessons, just presence. And maybe that's enough. There are people who speak of having vivid astral experiences, floating above their body, traveling to other places, encountering beings who deliver messages, witnessing worlds far more real than this one. Are they hallucinating, or are they simply remembering what most forget? Because every night we all travel, some just bring back the postcards. What science sees as a phase of inactivity is in truth a phase of the most profound activity, just not the kind we're used to measuring. The brain may slow, the body may still, but the essence of you, the part untouched by time or decay, is moving. Not outward, not forward, but inward. You are returning to the deepest chamber of your being, the place where the soul drinks from the eternal. What's even more astonishing, you do it without effort. It doesn't require belief. It doesn't require practice. It happens because it's woven into the design of your being. Sleep is not just biological recovery. It's spiritual remembering, a rehearsal for the final sleep. Yes, but also a reminder that death is not disappearance. It's transition. And sleep shows you that transition every single night. So when your body becomes heavy, when your thoughts begin to fade, when you fall into that still, vast darkness, you are not disappearing. You are departing. When you return in the morning, when your eyes open and breath deepens, you are not starting from scratch. you are arriving again with something new, something subtle, something sacred. The question is not if you go somewhere in deep sleep. The question is, are you ready to remember? When the quiet hours of night arrive, something astonishing happens. Just when the body becomes still, paralyzed by nature's design, protected from acting out its inner world, the brain begins sparking with light. Electrical activity rivals that of full consciousness. Eyes dart behind closed lids, blood pressure rises, breath becomes irregular, as if responding to unseen landscapes. You are in REM, and in REM the soul speaks in symbols. Most people think dreams are illusions, flickers of thought, emotional echoes from the day's events stitched together by a resting brain. But REM sleep is not chaos. It is a mirror, a sacred mirror reflecting parts of yourself that are too vast, too mysterious, or too repressed to surface during waking hours. It is not a playground. It's a classroom, a temple, a theater of the unconscious where your soul becomes both playwright and performer. Every night when you descend into REM, you enter a realm shaped not by logic, but by energy, emotion, belief, memory. The ego softens but doesn't disappear. It steps aside just enough to allow the deeper self to come forward. That self doesn't speak in language. It speaks in image, pattern, symbol. It doesn't explain, it reveals. What it reveals depends on how willing you are to witness it. To some, REM dreams feel random, fragmented. But look closer. They are rarely meaningless. They're full of clues. A house with endless rooms, a vehicle you can't steer, an animal watching you from a distance, a person who looks familiar but isn't. These aren't just details. They're reflections of your internal landscape, your desires, your fears, your unspoken truths. Jung called them archetypes, living patterns of human experience that reside in the collective unconscious. The mother, the shadow, the wise old man, the trickster, the wounded child. They are not just characters in your dreams. They are parts of you. When they appear, they are not random actors, they are messengers. In REM sleep, you are given a nightly opportunity to face these archetypes, to witness what your waking ego often ignores. The most powerful of these encounters can change you, not in theory, but in essence. You wake up knowing something has shifted, even if you can't explain how. Because the dream didn't just inform you, it transformed you. But there's another layer still. There are dreams you don't just witness. You know you're in lucid dreams, a rare, potent form of REM in which your awareness ignites inside the dream. You realize, this is a dream. I am dreaming. With that awareness, the rules change. You're no longer just drifting through symbols. You're in dialogue with them. You can ask questions. You can confront fears. You can fly through memories, visit places, speak to entities. And sometimes what you meet in that space feels larger than the self. Guides, beings of light, ancestors, higher versions of your own consciousness. Skeptics might say these are just mental projections, but if you've had the experience, you know better. The clarity, the presence, the intelligence, these beings don't feel like fantasies. They feel like truth. Truth wearing a new face so you can receive it without resistance. In lucid dreaming, the line between you and the dream dissolves. You realize that every object, every person, every landscape is an extension of your own psyche, a reflection. You are the architect and the explorer, the question and the answer. The dream becomes a mirror, not just of your subconscious, but of your soul's deepest longing. that's where the real work begins. Because if you're brave enough to use REM sleep as a mirror, you will start to see the parts of yourself you've hidden, not to punish you, but to liberate you. You'll face fears not to be consumed by them, but to understand them. You'll encounter love, not romantic fantasy, but the raw, unconditional current that flows beneath all things. Sometimes the dream will strip you bare. It will show you where you're lying to yourself, where your ego is still clinging, where your heart is still closed. But it doesn't do this cruelly. It does it precisely, lovingly, with symbols crafted not to confuse but to awaken. The dream world in REM is not passive. It responds to you. Shift your thoughts and the environment shifts. Face the shadow and it might dissolve into light. Speak to the being at the edge of the forest, and you might find it is you in a form your mind could finally understand. Some of the world's most spiritual revelations have come from dreams. Sacred texts were born in the night. Prophets heard their callings not in daylight clarity, but in nighttime vision. Poets, scientists, mystics alike have spoken of dreams where something other moved through them. Not entertainment, not madness, but contact. So the question is not, are dreams real? The question is, are you willing to see how real they've always been? REM sleep is not a glitch in biology. It is a mystical initiation you undergo every single night. You lose control. You enter a theater built from your own energy. You meet guides disguised as characters. You confront wounds cloaked in metaphor. All the while, your consciousness weaves through a tapestry of meaning so personal, so intimate that only you can truly decipher it. But you must begin to look, not analyze, look. Not every dream will be profound. Some will be strange, some will be funny, some will make no sense at all. But even in the nonsense, there is pattern. Even in the chaos, there is code. Dreams are not random. They are your soul's language. REM sleep is not a rest. It's a ritual, one where the self dissolves just enough to glimpse the truth behind the mask. If you learn to befriend it, not fear it, not dismiss it, but honor it, it will start to reveal things. Your wounds, your gifts, your purpose, your soul. Every night, whether you remember or not, the mirror is offered. Sometimes it's fogged with fear, sometimes it shines with clarity, but always it waits. So tonight, when your eyes grow heavy and your thoughts begin to fade, remember, you are not slipping into darkness. You are stepping into the mirror. And the one who looks back from that mirror might just be the version of you that's been waiting to be seen. There is a path that begins where most people believe the day ends. A path walked not with your feet, but with your awareness. A discipline older than most religions, refined over centuries, not in temples or monasteries, but in the quiet solitude of the sleeping body. This path does not ask for more effort during the day. It asks for presence at night. It is the path of conscious sleep, and it has been the gateway of mystics for millennia. In the ancient Himalayan tradition, it is called Tibetan Dream Yoga. But calling it a practice doesn't quite capture its essence. It's more like a map, one that leads the practitioner into the dream world, not as a bystander, but as a participant. Not as someone lost in illusion, but as someone awakening within illusion to see through it. To the Tibetans, dreams are not simply random messages from the subconscious. They are a training ground, a sacred rehearsal for death, rebirth, and liberation. While most people fall asleep into forgetfulness, the dream yogi enters sleep with intention. They remain aware as the body surrenders. They watch as dreams unfold and dissolve. Within the dream, they remain lucid, awake in the world of sleep, moving with purpose, observing with clarity. This is not to escape the body or indulge the ego. It's to loosen the grip of form itself, to realize that if the dream can feel so real, yet be so clearly unreal, then maybe the waking world too is not what it seems. This realization is the beginning of freedom. Tibetan masters have taught that there are 6 realms or bardo states the soul passes through, one of them being the dream state. The dream bardo is not just a place of rest, it's a testing ground. If you can awaken within it, if you can recognize the dream for what it is, then you're training yourself to recognize the ultimate illusion, the dream of separation, the illusion of permanence, the mistaken identity of the ego. Imagine that. Your entire night becomes spiritual practice, not just meditation before bed, not just silence or intention, but full conscious participation in your soul's unfolding. While your body lies still, the rest of you moves. It learns, it listens, it confronts shadows, it meets guides, and sometimes it returns with clarity that the waking mind could never achieve on its own. You wake with a knowing that doesn't come from logic. It's deeper, like a truth whispered into your bones. Mystics have long spoken of sleep as initiation, not metaphorically but literally, a nightly initiation into non-attachment, into surrender, into death. Because when you sleep consciously, you begin to experience what it means to let go without losing yourself. You watch your body disappear. You watch identities dissolve. You see that you, the real you, is not the body, not the name, not the story. It is the awareness that watches it all. And that awareness cannot die. It only moves from waking to sleeping, from dreaming to deep sleep, from this life to the next. The yogis say that if you can stay conscious through sleep, you can stay conscious through death. Because the transition is not that different. Both are thresholds. Both are veils. Both strip away the surface until only presence remains. This is why they trained not just during the day, but at night. Why they didn't treat dreams as distractions, but as scripture. Why they didn't just fall asleep. They entered sleep with reverence, with focus, with awareness sharp as a blade. And the dream responded. Because the dream world isn't just illusion, it's feedback. It mirrors your level of awareness. Most people wander through it, lost in shifting narratives, afraid of their own symbols. But the mystic meets the symbols face to face, not to control them, but to learn from them, to see what fears remain. That's when the dream begins to collapse, not into emptiness, but into light. Sometimes, just sometimes, the dreamer steps beyond the dream entirely, beyond form, beyond symbol, into a space of pure presence, a realm without images, no thought, no shape, just awareness resting in itself, silent, infinite, whole. This is the state beyond dreaming. The space mystics have called the clear light. In Tibetan teachings, they say that the clear light appears at the moment of death, but it also appears subtly each night during deep sleep. The difference is, in sleep, we're not aware of it. We pass through it unconsciously. But the dream yogi trains to see it, to enter that pure awareness consciously, and in doing so to experience the truth behind all forms. This is not fantasy. It is not wishful thinking. It is discipline, sacred work, and it is available to you. Not instantly, not overnight, but slowly, patiently. It begins with intention, with watching your thoughts as you fall asleep, with observing the edges of the dream, with asking questions inside the dream. Am I awake? Is this real? Who is witnessing this? At first, nothing may happen, but keep asking, keep observing. Awareness, once invited, begins to stay. One night without warning, something clicks. You realize mid-dream that you are dreaming. The world around you slows. The colors sharpen. You are awake within the dream. When that happens, everything changes. You can look at your fears without running. You can fly. You can heal. You can ask to meet your higher self, to speak with your guides, to visit your past, to understand your future. You are no longer being dragged through the currents of the dream. You are swimming with purpose, with power, with clarity. Have you ever become lucid in a dream and felt that overwhelming sense of freedom and possibility? What did you discover about yourself in that expanded state of awareness? Sleep becomes your temple. The dream becomes your teacher. And you become the mystic you've always been. Not someone with robes or rituals, but someone who remembers that the night is not an end, it's a beginning. A doorway, a sacred path walked with bare feet and wide eyes. And every night, the door opens again. There is a secret landscape you travel each night, not one made of cities or forests or oceans, but of layers. Realms within realms, each pulsing with its own vibration, each holding a key to a deeper part of you. You move through it silently, invisibly, unknowingly. Though your conscious mind forgets most of it by morning, something within you always remembers, because you are not simply sleeping, you are journeying. Every night without fail, you re-enter this inner terrain, a spiritual map hidden within the folds of your own being. One that mystics across time and tradition have tried to describe using different words, different symbols, but always pointing to the same truth. Sleep is not unconsciousness. It is a guided pilgrimage through levels of awareness. Each level reveals something more about who you truly are beneath the surface. Science might define the architecture of sleep in cycles: REM, non-REM, stage 1 through stage 3. But the mystics saw it differently. They felt these stages not as clinical patterns, but as spiritual realms, portals, thresholds through which the soul ascends and descends in its nightly return to Source. In the Kabbalistic tradition, the soul is said to have 5 levels: Nefesh, the animating force of the body; Ruach, the spirit; Neshama, the breath of divine wisdom; Chaya, the living essence; and Yechita, pure oneness. Each level corresponds to a layer of awareness, a rung on the ladder of divine communion. Sleep, for the mystic Kabbalist, wasn't a shutdown. It was an ascent through these layers. The deeper the sleep, the higher the soul could rise. They mapped this ascent in visions of Jacob's ladder, of the tree of life, of inner temples veiled by illusion. They taught that through dreams, visions, and silence, one could travel these rungs consciously. The soul, released from the heaviness of the world, could visit higher planes, could receive guidance, could remember. Sufi mystics spoke of something similar, though their map was shaped by love. They described the self as a series of veils: nafs, qalb, heart, sir, secret, and so on. Each layer peeled away through devotion, surrender, and remembrance. Sleep was not a break from the path. It was the path. In the night, they believed the soul could enter the Alam al-Mithal, the imaginal realm, a world not of fantasy but of divine images, a mirror world between the material and the spiritual, where one could meet saints, angels, even the beloved. They called it the land of meaning. Only the still, open soul could walk it. Hermetic practitioners traced a different geometry, but the pattern was still there. They built inner temples, structured meditations, rituals designed to align the subtle body with the stars. To them, dreams were initiations, each night an alchemical process. The descent into sleep was the nigredo. Dreams were the albedo, the whitening, the phase of symbolic purification. The return to waking life was the rubedo, the reddening, the rebirth of consciousness transformed. They taught that the soul, while the body sleeps, enters into the inner sanctum, the temple within. The same temple referred to in ancient Egyptian texts, in Greek mystery schools, and in Eastern philosophies, each describing it in their own way, but always placing it inside you, because that's where it has always been. You don't go anywhere during sleep, you go within. What you find there is a map, but it's not laid out in streets or symbols. It's felt, it's moved through. It unfolds only when you are soft enough, silent enough to be guided. You might feel yourself in a landscape not of this world, but more real than any dream. You might hear a voice you can't place but trust completely. You might find yourself standing at a door you've seen 1,000 times in dreams and never dared to open. These are not metaphors. They are landmarks of your soul's terrain. You've walked them before, and you'll walk them again. Because sleep is not just for rest, it's for remembrance, a nightly rehearsal for the soul's deeper journey. One that doesn't begin at birth or end at death. One that is always unfolding just out of sight, beneath the noise of waking life. Most people never learn the map. They sleep without intention, dream without listening, wake without integration. But once you begin to look, once you begin to ask, the map reveals itself. You'll notice the cycles, how every night has phases, how some dreams come at the edge of sleep and others deep within, how certain symbols follow you across years, evolving as you evolve, how there are places, dream cities, inner temples, sacred rooms, you return to again and again, even if you don't understand why. These aren't just dreams. They are coordinates, points on your soul's map. Each night, as you descend through the levels of sleep, you travel a spiral path. You begin at the surface, beta waves, scattered thoughts. You drop into alpha, the threshold, then theta, visions, soft symbols, delta, deep silence, soul departure, and back up through REM where the soul sends messages back into the psyche trying to be seen. It is a tour, a cycle, a sacred circuit, and it's ancient. Your ancestors knew this, even if they didn't speak of it in brainwave terminology. They honored the dream world not just as imagination, but as instruction. They passed down stories of dream walkers, soul travelers, vision seekers. They told of caves where people slept to receive divine guidance. They sang songs that carried dream meanings. They built cosmologies not around planets, but around sleep, because they knew the truth. The real pilgrimage happens inward. The real transformation, it doesn't happen while you're striving. It happens while you're surrendering. It happens while the mind is still, while the body rests, while the soul, unburdened by identity, moves through the halls of remembrance, through the rooms of past lives, through the gardens of healing, through the temples of initiation. You don't have to become a mystic to begin this journey. You already are. You already walk the path every night. The only question is, will you begin to see it? Will you start to treat your sleep as sacred? Will you lie down not just to escape the day, but to enter the self? Will you open to the possibility that everything you seek in waking life, the healing, the clarity, the purpose, is already waiting for you in the chambers of the night? Because it is. The map is within you, and it unfolds every time you close your eyes. What if everything you've been searching for, clarity, healing, awakening, was never hidden in the light, but in the dark? What if the very thing you've been taught to see as passive, as unconscious, as forgettable, was actually the most sacred part of your day? What if sleep was never meant to be an escape, but a return? A return to yourself, a return to source, a nightly remembrance of who and what you are beneath the layers of identity, beyond the noise of waking life. This isn't metaphor. This is the final revelation. Sleep is not the opposite of awakening. It is the training ground for it. Because every single night you walk through a process the mystics spent lifetimes chasing. You surrender your body. You leave behind your name, your story, your roles. You pass through layers of illusion. You enter into symbols, then silence. You descend into the void, into that vast, formless presence where there is no separation, no fear, no striving. Then you return, cleansed, renewed. Even if you don't remember it, your soul does. That's the shift waiting to happen. Not in your habits, not in your schedule, but in your awareness, in how you approach the night, in whether you choose to collapse into sleep or enter it, whether you numb your way into dreams or awaken inside them. Because that's the choice, and it's been there all along. You are not just a mind shutting down for maintenance. You are a consciousness entering sacred space. Night after night, you've been stepping through a veil without knowing it, drifting into the hypnagogic, the lucid, the deep, the mysterious. Every night, your soul has been trying to reach you through images, through feelings, through silence so complete it defies explanation. All you have to do now is listen, because the night has always been sacred. It was sacred to the Egyptians who watched their Ka leave the body in search of healing and guidance. It was sacred to the Vedic seers who mapped the four states of consciousness as a spiral toward the infinite. It was sacred to the Aboriginal elders who walked the dreaming as a way of remembering their place in the great web of time. It was sacred to the mystics of every tradition who fasted, prayed, and meditated, not just in the daylight, but in the depths of sleep. And it's still sacred. You've just forgotten. We all have. Modern life taught you that sleep is weakness, that stillness is unproductive, that dreams are meaningless static. It robbed the night of its ritual. It stole the silence with screens and stress and speed. It told you to conquer the day, but never taught you to honor the night. But something within you remembers. That's why you felt the pull, that strange ache as you lie in bed, not just to rest, but to go somewhere. That whisper in the silence, that knowing in your bones that something else is happening when the world is quiet and your eyes are closed. That the real you doesn't sleep. The real you watches, travels, learns, heals. That's not a dream. That's your soul. Once you begin to approach sleep as a sacred initiation, something unlocks. Your body still rests, yes, but your awareness begins to open. You start to notice the doorway as it approaches, the moment your thoughts become images, the space where silence becomes language. You begin to work with your dreams not as random stories, but as coded guidance. You start to remember symbols, visit familiar places, encounter teachers who live not outside you, but inside the deeper layers of your own consciousness. You realize the night is not absence, it is presence purified, and you begin to see sleep not as the day's end, but as the beginning of your practice, your real practice. The one where the ego can no longer interfere, where control dissolves, where surrender becomes the key. The one practice that takes you to the edge of death and back every single night. The mystics trained for this. They used their dreams as mirrors. They mapped their inner worlds. They stayed awake through the descent. They spoke of sleep as the moment the soul communes most intimately with the divine, not in grand visions, but in stillness. In that black, silent place between dreams, in the formless. That's the revelation, that the emptiness you feared is not death, it's home. That the darkness is not something to escape, but something to enter. That the body sleeps, yes, but you do not. You are the witness, the traveler, the soul on a nightly pilgrimage to remember itself. That pilgrimage can become your practice. Every night before you sleep, set an intention, not a command, a devotion. I welcome the sacred journey. I am open to guidance, to healing, to remembrance. I offer my sleep as a return to truth. You don't have to force anything. Just invite it. Then lie down. Turn off the noise. Let yourself fall, not into forgetfulness, but into presence. You may not remember your dreams at first. You may not feel different right away. That's okay. The soul's language is subtle. The practice of sleeping consciously is not a performance. It's a return. Every return brings you closer to who you've always been. A being of awareness, a vessel of spirit, a traveler on the inner path. Consider rewatching this video before sleep tonight to deepen your understanding of these sacred processes. When you share this knowledge with others, you're not just spreading information, you're creating an energetic ripple effect that accelerates collective awakening, strengthens your own connection to these truths, and opens doorways for profound synchronicities to emerge in both your life and theirs. So tonight, when the day fades and the world grows quiet, when your breath slows and your thoughts begin to dissolve, know that something sacred is about to begin. Not an end, a doorway. Not escape, awakening. You don't have to go looking for the truth anymore. You've already been journeying through it every night of your life. You just have to see it. And once you do, you'll never sleep the same way again. Now, if you're ready to explore how your consciousness doesn't just travel during sleep, but actually shapes reality itself through observation, discover the profound implications of quantum entanglement and how your thoughts are literally creating the world around you in ways that will fundamentally transform your understanding of existence. They've convinced you that what happens when you close your eyes is nothing important. Random brain static, chemical maintenance, a simple biological necessity. But what if I told you that every single night you undergo the most profound experience available to human consciousness? What if the moment you drift off isn't just rest, but literally a form of death and rebirth that reveals the deepest secrets about who you really are? Every evening, there's a threshold you cross without even realizing it. One moment you're aware, connected to your body and the physical world around you. The next, you've slipped through an invisible doorway into realms that most people never acknowledge exist. Your consciousness doesn't just turn off like a light switch. It transforms, travels, and touches dimensions of reality that your waking mind can barely comprehend. This transition isn't random. It's a carefully orchestrated journey through states of being that ancient civilizations understood as sacred passages. What we call falling asleep, they recognized as entering the greatest mystery of human existence. They built entire spiritual systems around this nightly voyage, understanding that sleep wasn't the absence of consciousness. It was consciousness freed from the limitations of physical form. You've experienced hints of this yourself, even if you've dismissed them. those strange flashes of imagery just before sleep takes hold. The sensation of falling that jerks you awake. Voices that seem to whisper your name in the darkness. These aren't glitches in your brain's operating system. They're glimpses through the veil, evidence that you're crossing into a realm where different laws apply, where time bends, and where the boundaries between self and universe begin to dissolve. Ancient peoples knew this crossing intimately. In Greece, they understood that sleep and death shared the same divine parentage, twins born from the primordial night. Hypnos and Thanatos weren't enemies of life. They were guardians of transformation. The threshold of sleep was considered a gateway to the hidden world, a place where souls could journey beyond the confines of flesh and bone. The great oracles and mystery schools of Delphi and Eleusis didn't see sleep as unconsciousness. They saw it as the ultimate initiation, a rehearsal for the soul's final liberation from material existence. If this exploration of sleep's hidden dimensions is resonating with you, consider liking this video and subscribing to continue uncovering these ancient mysteries that modern science is only beginning to understand. In the sacred temples of Egypt, priest initiates spent years mastering the art of conscious departure from the body. They believed the soul, which they called the Ka, could separate from physical form during sleep and navigate invisible dimensions filled with teachers, tests, and divine wisdom. These weren't metaphorical journeys, but literal travels through what they termed the Duat, a multidimensional landscape as real as any earthly terrain. Entire temple complexes were designed not for worship, but for the practice of conscious sleep. Sacred chambers where trained souls could journey beyond the veil and return with knowledge from the gods themselves. Modern science has forgotten this wisdom, but the experience remains unchanged. When your thoughts begin shifting into images, when language dissolves into pure feeling, when pictures form behind your closed eyelids without logic or control, this is the hypnagogic threshold. Far from being a mere prelude to unconsciousness, it's the gateway to the soul's true domain. This is where your deeper self begins to speak in its native language of symbol, sensation, and direct knowing. These forces don't communicate through words because they exist beyond the realm of verbal thought. They speak through archetypal images, energetic impressions, and visions that carry meaning too vast for ordinary language. Sometimes these feel like memories from lives you've never lived. Sometimes they seem like prophecies of futures yet to unfold. Often they make no sense to your rational mind, and that's precisely the point. The doorway you cross each night isn't guarded by intellect. It's accessed through complete surrender of mental control. This surrender is something you've been practicing your entire existence, though you've been taught to ignore its profound significance. In our current culture, sleep has been reduced to a mere biological function. Hormone regulation, neural maintenance, memory consolidation. While these physical processes certainly occur, they represent only the surface layer of an infinitely deeper phenomenon. The complete picture, the spiritual dimension, has been systematically hidden from view. Consider this. You spend approximately 1/3 of your entire existence in sleep. If you live to be 75, that's 25 years spent in this altered state. Would evolution really design such an extensive, universal, and essential experience merely for basic maintenance? Or is it possible that sleep serves a far more profound purpose? A shift in consciousness, a migration of awareness, a return to source. The moment you begin transitioning into sleep, you don't disappear. Your awareness doesn't vanish, it relocates. Freed from external sensory input, consciousness begins to float, explore, and connect with aspects of reality normally hidden from view. In this drifting lies a truth that's been systematically suppressed. You are not your thoughts, your responsibilities, your social identity, or even your physical body. You are the eternal observer who watches all of these dissolve into nothingness each night. The hypnagogic state serves as your invitation to remember this essential truth. It's the entry point into mystery, the space where ordinary reality thins and your authentic self begins communicating through direct experience rather than conceptual understanding. If you've ever received sudden insights just before sleep, experienced visions that couldn't be explained, or felt yourself floating in the moments before unconsciousness, you've touched this sacred boundary. Yet every night, most people rush past this threshold without recognition. Not through lack of interest, but because nobody taught them that this moment contains transformative power. You've been conditioned to view sleep through the lens of productivity, rest for energy, recovery for performance, optimization for efficiency. You've never been told that sleep is actually a portal, containing layers of experience that initiate you into direct dialogue with the deepest aspects of your being. So the question becomes, what would unfold if you approached this gateway with conscious awareness? What if instead of collapsing into unconsciousness automatically, you treated this transition as a sacred passage? What mysteries would reveal themselves? What aspects of your true nature would emerge? Who would you discover yourself to be when all the surface layers fall away? Because that quiet moment you typically miss isn't the conclusion of your day. It's the beginning of a return, a homecoming to the unseen dimensions of your being, a reconnection with the vastness that daily life obscures, a reunion with the part of yourself that remembers everything your waking mind has forgotten. You stand at this threshold every single night. The only question remaining is, are you ready to cross it with your eyes truly open? You've been programmed to accept a particular narrative about sleep, a reductionist story claiming your body simply gets tired, your brain requires downtime, and sleep is nothing more than biological maintenance. Like a computer cycling into rest mode, you're told the human system must periodically shut down for essential repairs. Hormones rebalance, muscles heal, memories organize themselves, and that's supposedly all there is to it. Nothing mystical, nothing sacred, nothing worth deeper investigation. But this story represents only a fraction of the complete picture. Sleep isn't the absence of waking consciousness. It's not a void or an empty space. It constitutes a journey, a transformative process, a passage far older than civilization itself and more profound than anything modern science has yet measured. For thousands of years, long before the human body was reduced to biochemical equations, sleep was recognized as something entirely different, a spiritual expedition into the hidden dimensions of existence. This understanding was somehow lost along the way, but it wasn't always absent from human awareness. Ancient cultures revered sleep rather than dismissing it. They recognized it not as passive withdrawal, but as active engagement, a movement of consciousness, a migration of the soul through layers of reality most people never suspect exist. The Egyptians possessed perhaps the most sophisticated understanding of this process. They believed sleep constituted a sacred descent during which the soul, the Ka, would depart the physical body and travel through the Duat, a multi-dimensional realm populated with symbols, trials, teachers, and thresholds of transformation. Sleep wasn't about physical rest. It was about spiritual exploration, the acquisition of hidden knowledge, direct communion with divine forces, and healing that penetrated far deeper than physical medicine could reach. They constructed temples specifically for this purpose, not buildings for worshiping distant deities, but training facilities where students could learn to sleep consciously, to lie in sacred stillness while experienced guides directed their souls into invisible realms. These institutions were called houses of life, and within their walls, dreams weren't forgotten or dismissed. They were studied meticulously, decoded systematically, and recorded in sacred texts as communications from the deeper reality that preceded birth and would continue after death. The Egyptians understood something modern culture has forgotten. Sleep was a return to source, a homecoming to the origin of consciousness itself. Across the world in ancient India, spiritual masters mapped this inner territory with extraordinary precision. The Mandukya Upanishad, a text composed over 2 millennia ago, doesn't describe sleep as mere biological rest. It reveals sleep as sacred architecture, a structured progression through states of consciousness designed to return awareness to its essential nature. They identified 4 distinct states: waking consciousness, dream consciousness, deep sleep consciousness, and Turiya, the eternal witness that observes all 3. Turiya wasn't considered an advanced spiritual achievement, but the fundamental ground of being, the pure awareness in which all other states arise and dissolve. In this framework, sleep doesn't represent descent into forgetfulness, but potential ascent into truth. When the body enters rest, the mind naturally dissolves. When mental activity ceases, the true self becomes visible. If awareness can remain awake within that dissolution, you don't simply sleep. You awaken within sleep itself. What you discover there isn't fantasy, but reality stripped of all illusion. Greek civilization expressed this truth through different imagery while preserving its essential meaning. Hypnos, the god of sleep, was said to dwell at the threshold of the underworld, not in a realm of darkness or terror, but in a hidden garden of perfect stillness bordered by the river Lethe, the waters of forgetting. His twin brother Thanatos represented death, not because sleep was a form of dying, but because death was a form of sleep, a sacred transition of consciousness from one mode of existence to another. The great oracles routinely entered sleep before receiving divine visions. Dream incubation, or enkoimesis, was practiced throughout the ancient world. Seekers didn't pursue dreams as random mental phenomena, but sought revelation through sleep, understanding that unconsciousness wasn't a shutdown, but a message waiting to be received from the deepest levels of reality. Yet in today's world, we treat sleep like an inconvenience to be optimized, a function to be tracked, a problem to be solved with pharmaceutical intervention. We monitor it with devices, reduce it to data points, and prescribe chemicals to override its natural rhythms. Sleep has become something we get rather than something we enter, something we measure rather than something we revere. In pursuing this mechanistic approach, we've flattened the experience, emptied it of meaning, and reduced one of existence's greatest mysteries to mere biological necessity. But sleep refuses to be diminished. It remains vast, infinite, profound. It represents the only time, without exception, that you completely abandon the external world. Regardless of your beliefs, background, status, or achievements, every night you return to a place beyond logic, beyond time, beyond language itself. You dissolve, you become nobody, and then you reassemble. The part of you that remains constant throughout this process, the awareness that perceives even in darkness, that witnesses dreams while knowing they are dreams, That aspect is untouched by change, unaffected by time. That is your essential nature, and sleep serves as its playground. The understanding that sleep constitutes spiritual technology might sound foreign now, but only because we've traded soul wisdom for circuit diagrams. We discuss melatonin levels, circadian rhythms, and REM patterns, but we fail to ask why sleep contains distinct stages. We don't question why consciousness retreats from the external world in such precise, rhythmic sequences. We assume it's for survival purposes. But what if it's designed for evolution? What if these stages function like chambers in a temple, each one leading you deeper into your authentic self? Whether you remember them or not, you journey every night, not just through dreams, but through dimensions of consciousness itself. You transition from beta to alpha to theta to delta frequencies. Your brain waves decelerate. Your ego loosens its grip. Your body becomes completely still, even paralyzed. Through this stillness, your inner being awakens, not like morning awakening, but like a flame kindling in darkness. Quiet, gradual, luminous. You've been experiencing this your entire life without recognizing its significance. You've been taught that sleep experiences are meaningless, but mystics throughout history have declared them everything. They understand sleep as rehearsal for death, but more importantly, as rehearsal for awakening, because sleep reveals your true nature. Not as a thinking mind, not as a physical form, not as a personality construct, but as awareness itself, unchanged, even when everything else dissolves. Imagine approaching bedtime with this understanding, not as collapse into exhaustion, but as sacred return, daily initiation, descent into the holy chambers of self, where veils become transparent, masks fall away, and the soul resumes speaking its original language: silence, symbol, sensation. This isn't abstract philosophy, it's practical wisdom, ancient science accessible to you right now. You don't need Egyptian temples or Indian ashrams. You need only the willingness to perceive sleep not as disappearance, but as doorway. Not as unconsciousness, but as expanded consciousness. Tonight, when your eyes grow heavy and your body prepares to surrender, pause. Feel the moment. Hold it. Not with mental effort, but with pure awareness. You're not about to shut down. You're about to return home. You're about to remember what the world has trained you to forget. Sleep isn't the day's conclusion. It's the entrance to something eternal. In ancient Egypt, few aspects of existence were regarded with more reverence than the nightly journey of consciousness. To these master practitioners of inner science, sleep represented far more than physical rest. It was a deliberate descent into sacred territory they called the duat. This wasn't imaginary terrain or symbolic metaphor, but an actual multidimensional plane of existence hidden just beneath the surface of ordinary reality. When you closed your eyes and your breathing deepened, something within you began to stir. Not your body, but the essence of who you truly are. The Egyptians understood that each night your ka prepared for departure. You didn't fall unconscious. You embarked on a voyage. Your destination wasn't random. You journeyed into the duat, the mysterious mirror world, the unseen landscape filled with symbols, portals, guardians, and transformative experiences. This realm served as both testing ground and teaching space, available not only to the deceased, but to any living soul who could cross the threshold consciously. This is where Egyptian mastery truly shone. They weren't simply people who honored death. They were virtuosos of the invisible, experts in the science of consciousness. Within their temple complexes, they taught carefully selected students how to sleep with intention, not merely to rest, but to travel with purpose through non-physical dimensions. These weren't ordinary bedchambers, but sanctuaries known as houses of life, sacred spaces designed with a single objective: training the soul to navigate realms beyond physical existence. Picture yourself lying upon a stone platform beneath temple ceilings, covered in sacred inscriptions and symbolic artwork. Incense spirals through the air while priests chant in low, resonant tones. The atmosphere vibrates with stillness and presence. You're not simply preparing for sleep. You're readying yourself for an expedition where your ka will rise, detach from material form, and soar through unseen corridors of spirit. The ka wasn't metaphorical to Egyptian understanding. It was a literal component of your being, typically depicted as a human-headed bird. The ka represented your personality in its eternal aspect, distinct yet infinite, maintaining your identity across different dimensions of existence. Each night, when the physical body lay motionless, the ka gained freedom to roam. It would ascend, slip through dimensional veils, and enter the duat, not as a lost soul wandering aimlessly, but as a seeker, explorer, and student of cosmic mysteries. But you weren't sent into the duat unprepared or unprotected. The journey was ritualized, safeguarded, and guided with meticulous care. Before sleep, sacred ceremonies were performed. Prayers were offered to Thoth, the deity of wisdom and scribes, and to Anubis, guardian of transitions and keeper of sacred gateways. Sacred oils were applied while protective incantations were spoken to shield the ka from hostile forces. The understanding was crystal clear. The duat was real, and not everything dwelling within it was benevolent. There were trials to face, entities to encounter, and lessons to learn, but also allies to meet, teachers to consult, and treasures of wisdom buried like gems beneath the sands of consciousness. Throughout this process, the ka remained connected to the physical body through what later mystics would call the silver cord, a lifeline spanning dimensions. As long as this tether stayed intact, the traveler could return safely. But this was understood to be serious work, not entertainment or fantasy. This was a sacred mission of healing, insight, and spiritual transformation. This sophisticated understanding of sleep wasn't limited to priesthood. The general population also believed in the power of dream experience. Dreams were taken so seriously that pharaohs consulted dream interpreters before making crucial decisions. Farmers recorded their visions for guidance. Even common people turned to dream texts to understand messages received during the night. The famous Ramesside dream book, preserved on papyrus, cataloged hundreds of dream symbols and their meanings. These weren't superstitious beliefs, but codified wisdom, maps of inner terrain passed down through generations. For the Egyptians, sleep wasn't passive experience. It was active revelation. Central to this revelation was the understanding that you aren't imprisoned by physical form. Every night your consciousness separates from the material shell. Your senses become quiet. Your ego begins dissolving, allowing something older and deeper to emerge. This part of you doesn't require physical eyes to see or spoken words to understand. It recognizes the language of vibration, symbol, and sacred geometry. It communicates through dream imagery and listens through silence. This is why dream temples existed, to train this aspect of your being, to sharpen its perception, to cultivate remembrance. The Egyptians knew that most people, even in their era, would pass through sleep unconsciously. They would drift in and out without ever realizing they had entered sacred space. But for those who were prepared, for those who underwent training, each night became an initiation. Temple sleepers were guided not just into dreams, but into deliberate states of astral separation. The Ka would be taught to leave the body with full awareness, to observe itself moving between dimensions, to encounter beings of light and shadow, and to return with knowledge. Healing frequently occurred during these sessions. Emotional wounds, physical ailments, spiritual disturbances, because the Egyptians understood that healing wasn't merely about herbs or medicines. It was about restoring proper alignment between body, mind, and soul. This alignment could be corrected during sleep. Even the architectural design of Egyptian tombs and temples reflected their understanding of the soul's journey. Corridors symbolized the path through the duat. Chambers represented stages of transformation. Artwork and hieroglyphs weren't merely decorative. They were functional tools, keys for the Ka to navigate with. Each symbol, each deity, each story carved into stone held specific frequency, vibration that resonated across dimensions. The temples weren't dead monuments, but living maps of invisible territory. All of this began with sleep, not a sleep of forgetting, but a sleep of remembering. To the modern mind, this might sound like mythology, but consider what's more mythical: the idea that your soul journeys each night through sacred dimensions, or the notion that your consciousness simply switches off like machinery only to power back on the next morning with no trace of where it went. Something deep within you knows the answer because you've experienced it directly. That moment just before sleep arrives, when your body becomes weightless, when strange images dance behind your eyelids, when sounds emerge from silence. That's the Ka stirring. That's your soul preparing for departure. While most of us slip into unconsciousness, there are moments, brief and vivid, when something breaks through. A dream so real it haunts you for days. A message so clear it defies logical explanation. A presence so familiar it moves you to tears. That is the sacred voyage. That is what the Egyptians devoted their lives to understanding, not to escape physical existence, but to enter the deeper life flowing within it. So when next you lay your head down, ask yourself this question, not with your mind, but with your soul. Where is my Ka traveling tonight? And am I ready to follow consciously? Long before sleep was mapped in clinical stages or reduced to neurochemical processes, the wise teachers of ancient India were charting the territory of consciousness, not with instruments, but with the precision of inner stillness and the clarity of direct awareness. They didn't require brain monitoring equipment to understand what occurred behind closed eyes. They listened deeply. They observed carefully. They turned inward and discovered an entire cosmos within. According to the ancient Vedic understanding, sleep was never merely a biological necessity. It was a gateway into the deepest dimensions of selfhood. Through the teachings preserved in the Mandukya Upanishad, they revealed something extraordinary, something modern science is only beginning to approach: that human consciousness isn't fixed, but exists in layers. We don't simply sleep. We traverse realms of being, and not just in dreams, but within the very structure of awareness itself. The sages identified 4 distinct states. The first is Jagrat, ordinary waking consciousness. This is the state most familiar to you, your daily awareness, the realm where you engage with physical reality, where sensory input dominates, where time, space, and personal identity feel solid and unquestionable. In Jagrat, your mind remains attached to form and structure. You know your name, your relationships, your obligations. You eat, speak, move, plan, and act. But this represents merely the surface layer of your being. As day transitions into night, you enter the second state, swapna, dream consciousness. Here, the external world dissolves and the internal world begins projecting itself. In swapna, the senses turn inward. What you perceive is no longer shaped by physical reality, but by memory, emotion, thought, and desire. The rules here become fluid. Time expands and contracts. You can fly, communicate with the deceased, visit places that never existed. This realm is softer, more symbolic, but it's not unreal. It's simply more malleable. Behind every symbol in swapna lies a truth your waking mind has forgotten how to decode. Deeper still comes sushupti, deep sleep consciousness. Here, dreaming ceases, images vanish, even the sense of individual identity begins to fade. This isn't unconsciousness, though it appears that way to the part of you accustomed to thought and form. In sushupti, there is no narrative, no selfhood, no temporal experience. Yet there is peace, profound, nourishing peace. It's the moment your being returns to stillness. Your body heals, your mind resets, and something within you surrenders to a presence far greater than personality. You don't remember this place consciously, but it nourishes you every night. When you awaken feeling truly restored, not just physically but spiritually, it's because you've touched the quiet depths of sushupti. But even sushupti isn't the ultimate frontier. Beyond it lies a fourth state, unbound by day-night cycles, unchained from body, thought, or dream. This is turiya. Turiya isn't a state you enter, but a state you recognize. It's the background within which all other states arise and dissolve. The unchanging awareness that observes waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. You could describe it as the screen on which the movie of your life plays. But it's more than that. It's the observer, the silent witness that watches as you wake, dream, and sleep. It remains untouched by emotion, unaltered by memory, unbound by story. It is always present, pure, effortless, eternal. Turiya cannot be grasped through mental effort, but you've known it. You've experienced it in those brief moments just before awakening, when your body hasn't yet stirred and your mind hasn't yet engaged. You've touched it in meditation when thought falls silent, and all that remains is vast, vibrant stillness. You've glimpsed it in the deep silence of sleep when you awaken, not from a dream, but from a depth so still, so sacred, that words become unnecessary. In the contemporary world, we use electroencephalogram machines to monitor brainwaves during sleep. We discuss alpha, theta, delta frequencies. We track light sleep, deep sleep, REM phases. We understand that the brain doesn't shut down during sleep, but becomes highly active, shifting through cycles throughout the night. Each sleep stage is marked by unique rhythms, different speeds of electrical activity. We call it data. We call it science. Yet what we're actually observing is consciousness in motion. Alpha waves emerge when the body is relaxed, but alert, a meditative state. Theta waves dominate during early sleep stages and deep meditation, where imagination and intuition flourish. Delta waves arrive in the deepest stages, the slowest and most restorative, corresponding to sushupti. Then there are gamma waves, flashes of insight, unity, and expanded awareness found in REM sleep, lucid dreaming, and monks who have spent decades in meditation. What science now detects through technology, the sages once described through sacred poetry. They didn't need devices to prove that something sacred unfolds during sleep. They knew because they had felt it, witnessed it, traveled through it with conscious awareness. To them, the progression through Jagrat, Swapna, and Sushupti wasn't random but cyclical, a wheel of consciousness. And Turiya was the axis, the immovable center, the true self. This is where the teachings become practical rather than theoretical. Once you understand that Turiya is the ever-present witness, you realize something revolutionary. You don't need to wait for sleep to access it. You can become aware of it here, now, in this moment. Right now, as these words reach you, there is something within you that is observing. Not your mind. It's doing the interpreting. Not your emotions. They fluctuate constantly. Not your body. It's simply receiving the experience. But that presence behind everything, the one who knows this is happening, that's Turiya. And it never sleeps. It never forgets. You could spend your entire life shifting from waking to dreaming to deep sleep without realizing that all three states are occurring within you, not merely to you. But if you become aware of this truth, everything changes. You stop identifying completely with the waking self. You see dreams not as illusions, but as communications. You no longer fear the silence of deep sleep because you sense the spacious awareness behind it. You begin trusting the night. You begin listening. Sleep becomes sacred again, not a collapse into unconsciousness, but a gentle return to source, a remembering of what you are beneath the stories, a journey through yourself back to yourself. Somewhere in that stillness, in the moment just before the dream begins or the thought arises, you touch the edge of Turiya, and it touches you back. There exists a way of perceiving the world that has never separated spirit from matter, a perspective that doesn't create artificial divisions between past and present, waking and sleeping, individual and cosmos. To the indigenous peoples of Australia, this way isn't philosophy but lived reality, a reality they call the dreaming. But the English word dream fails to capture its true depth. In Western understanding, dreams are often dismissed, fleeting images, disconnected thoughts, mental tricks during rest. In modern culture, we're taught that dreams are private, meaningless, or purely psychological phenomena. But to the Aboriginal cultures who have preserved their wisdom through tens of thousands of years, dreaming isn't escape from reality. It is the foundation beneath everything. It isn't imagination. It is origin itself. The dreaming isn't something that occurred once in ancient times. It is occurring continuously. It is the living, breathing memory of how all existence came into being. The landscape, the creatures, the waters, the celestial bodies, and the people. It is the ancestral layer of reality, the invisible dimension that pulses beneath the surface of the physical world. It's not confined to back then. It is here always, a continuous thread connecting all time and all beings in a sacred rhythm of becoming. In sleep, you return to it. You touch the dreaming not through effort, but through surrender. When your eyes close and your body rests against the earth, something within you begins to drift, not upward, but inward. Inward is the direction of memory, of origin, of truth. To the Aboriginal understanding, sleep isn't a passive experience. It's a journey back into the most ancient stories, the ones that don't just describe the world, but actively shape it. In this worldview, the landscape isn't separate from you. The stones, the trees, the waters, the sky, these aren't objects but beings, ancestors, carriers of story, holders of law. Every night, when the mind quiets and the ego dissolves, your soul is given the opportunity to rejoin them, to listen, to remember. In the dream time, The boundaries between self and world fade. You don't dream about the land, you dream with it. The hills speak, the wind instructs. The ancestors walk alongside you. The visions you receive aren't random. They are teachings, sacred transmissions encoded in symbol and sensation. They are memories speaking back to you, not from the past, but from a place outside time itself. In many Aboriginal cultures, dreaming isn't limited to sleep. It flows into waking life. It informs decisions. It guides journeys. It reveals purpose. Because dreaming isn't just what happens when you close your eyes. It's a dimension of existence, always present, always vibrating, just beneath the veil of the visible. Yet sleep holds special significance because during sleep, that veil softens. You don't have to struggle to see. You are carried. You are received. In the dream time, you might encounter a serpent whose body forms the riverbed of your homeland. You might walk in the footsteps of your great-grandmother, even if you never knew her name. You might be shown a mountain that holds your story, your task, your place in the larger pattern of being. These aren't metaphors. They are real, just as real as anything you perceive with waking eyes, if not more so. Western science would label this projection neural activity. But what if science has only begun to scratch the surface of what the Aboriginal mind has always known? That the world is layered, that consciousness is relational, that sleep isn't where reality disappears, but where it deepens. To truly understand the dreaming, you must release the idea that time is linear. You must let go of the belief that knowledge comes only from books or data. In this way of being, knowing is embodied. It is felt. It is passed down through song, through story, through silence. A child may hear a story hundreds of times before realizing it isn't just a tale. It's a map, a key, a living thread connecting them to the earth and to all who have walked it before. The elders, those who carry the ancient songs, aren't merely storytellers. They are memory keepers. They are dream guides. And they don't speak casually. When they speak of dreaming, they speak of responsibility. Because dreams aren't just for you. They are part of a shared pattern, a sacred ecology of soul and soil. When you sleep, your soul steps outside the body, not to escape it, but to reconnect with what it forgot, to bathe in the memory of the world, to receive instruction not from logic but from presence. You might be given a vision of fire, a bird, a single word. It might make no sense to your waking mind, but if you sit with it, if you carry it with respect, it may unfold. It may begin to reveal something that was hidden, not because it was distant, but because it was too close to see. A dream is to remember what the world has been trying to tell you. It is to step out of the noise and back into the rhythm. This is why, for many Aboriginal people, sacred sites aren't just historical. They are dreaming places. They are portals, locations where the layers of reality are thinner, where the songs still echo in the stones. Those who are sensitive, those who haven't forgotten, can feel them. You can feel them. That strange pull you sometimes experience when standing on certain land. The way a particular tree seems to watch you. The hush that falls in your spirit when you're near an ancient formation. This is the dreaming whispering, not in words, but in presence, in feeling. When you go to sleep, you're not moving away from that connection. You're moving toward it. Sleep, in this understanding, isn't a gap in awareness. It's a restoration of it, a return. Every night you are invited back to the sacred, to the real. Not the real of concrete and schedules, but the real of essence, of spirit, of story. You aren't just dreaming for yourself. You are dreaming for the earth. You are dreaming